So we'll get started in a seated posture tonight. I actually have chronic pinching in my hip flexors, so I like to elevate the tailbone a little bit with a blanket or sometimes even a bolster, and that just allows my hip flexors to open up a little bit more. So maybe this is a seated posture that works for you. If not, maybe you'd prefer to just sit back on your heels like so. And even from here, you might prefer to have a blanket under the knees or even behind the knees. If you roll it a little bit, it can help take some of the bend out of the knees. So if too much bend is uncomfortable for you, that might be a good option. So yeah, just find a seated posture that works best for your body. And we'll just start by kind of noticing our posture here. I'd like us to just kind of move around a little bit so we can really make sure we're centered and able to bring proper alignment into the spine. So maybe start by just doing some circles with your hips. Just allowing yourself to kind of feel the four corners of your seat if you are on your seat, or just help you kind of evenly distribute your weight. You can reverse your circles. And then ease yourself back to center. Maybe roll the shoulders a few times. If you're ready to add some yoga breath, you can. Just deep in through the nose, out through the mouth, through the nose. Maybe reverse. And release. And then allowing yourself to do a little bit of movement in the neck as well. So I like to start with just making sure that first the tailbone is softened down. And that just means that you're going to feel, it's just a very, very slight tilting or tucking of the tailbone that causes the lower abdomen to engage. It's very subtle, just enough to kind of bring pressure out of the low back and activate the muscles here in the lower abdomen. And then rolling the shoulders back and down to allow the heart to lift ever so slightly. Sometimes when we do that movement though, we overarch and stick out our chests a little bit, which causes our ribs to jet out and pinches and compresses the spine again. So if you do what we say, knitting the ribs together, it's just feeling the upper abdomen engage here. Focus on it, just visualizing that you're using those muscles to draw the ribs together. And that will allow the spine to align, and then bringing your ears above your shoulders. So from here, focusing on the breath. Nice big inhale through the nose. Maybe you feel the belly expanding. You can even place a hand on the belly. The chest expands. Letting it all go, keeping that nice tall spine. And with your next inhale, sitting up nice and tall, you can draw the chin toward the chest. Inhale, chin to chest. Exhale, ear to shoulder. And just do that a couple times so you feel evenly stretched. And in your own time, inhale back to center. Maybe you sit right here resting the hands on the thighs. You might decide to turn the palms up toward heaven, or even bring the hands to prayer at heart center. If it feels safe for you, maybe you even close your eyes for a few minutes. Focus on the breath. Now that we've eased our bodies into proper alignment, take some time to invite the Lord into your practice. Maybe with your inhale, just embracing His presence. Exhale, releasing the mental chatter. Continue with your breath now as I read our scripture for the evening, which comes from Colossians chapter 3, verses 12 through 15. And I'm reading from the Voice translation. Since you are all set apart by God, made holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with a holy way of life. Compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Put up with one another. Forgive. Pardon any offenses against one another, as the Lord has pardoned you. Because you should act in kind. But above all these, put on love. Love is the perfect tie to bind these together. Let your hearts fall under the rule of the Anointed's peace, the peace you were called to as one body. And be thankful. So just noticing if there's a word or phrase that stood out to you. Maybe the Lord is prompting your heart in a specific way. One thing that Holy Yoga I hear a lot from different leaders in Holy Yoga is this prayer, Lord, show me you, then show me, then show me others. And in this prayer, as we look to the Father and ask Him to reveal Himself to us, He can help us to break down the lies that we believe about who He is, that in turn inform how we see ourselves and then how we treat ourselves and treat others. So asking the Lord to reveal Himself to you might even just be the key to forgiveness or letting go of fear. So I came up with this breath prayer for us tonight. It's one that I used recently in my own quiet time. Feel free to modify it if it doesn't quite fit how God is speaking to your heart tonight. But I invite you just to be open to see how God might want to use it for you. So this is a square breath. And in a square breath, we're going to change up a little bit. So we're going to inhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4. So inhale, you are my defender. Hold, you are my provider. Exhale, I release any root of bitterness. Hold, and trust you for protection. So inhale, you are my defender. Hold, you are my provider. Exhale. I release any root of bitterness. Hold and trust you for protection. Inhale. You are my defender. Hold. You are my provider. Exhale. I release any root of bitterness. Hold and trust you for protection. A couple more times. Inhale. You are my defender. Hold. You are my provider. Exhale. I release any root of bitterness. Hold and trust you for protection. So we'll move back into just a deep, slow yoga breath. Inhale through the nose. Hold for just a moment. And let it all go. So we'll go ahead and move into a seated twist. Just from wherever you are. So maybe you're already sitting with ankles crossed or you're sitting on your knees. You can just bring your left hand across the body to the right thigh. Bringing the right hand either down beside you on the mat or even behind the low back. We're going to root down through the left hip, almost as if someone was gently pressing this left knee down toward the earth. And then begin to twist to the right, first at the waist, then the heart, then the neck. Keep the shoulders back and down, keep the ribs knit in, the tailbone softened. Inhale to center, exhale other way. Inhale back to center, exhale to the right. And inhale to center, one more time to the left. And release. So feel free to stay right where you are, or if it's available to you, allowing the soles of the feet to touch and the knees to open to butterfly. So maybe the hands rest somewhere along the lower half of the legs, the shin area, or maybe the hands clasp around the toes. But either way, we want to make sure that we're pressing the four corners of the feet firmly into each other. So maybe you kind of lift the toes away from each other for a moment, just to feel the four corners pressing in, and then allow the toes to come back together. And we're engaging our outer thighs and glutes because we want to draw the knees open. Still softening the tailbone down. Rolling the shoulders back and down, knitting the ribs in, ears in line with the shoulders. And maybe on your next exhale, you start to slowly draw the heart forward. And just every exhale brings you a little further into your forward fold. So doing this either in butterfly or maybe with ankles crossed. If you are doing ankles crossed, maybe switch which leg is on top halfway through. With your inhale, you can always come back up a little bit and then exhale into your fold. Next, inhale, slowly coming back up. And we're going to come into either reverse plank or reverse table. So if you do have a blanket under your seat, you may want to just set it to the side out of the way. We'll start by placing the feet in front of the hips on the mat and bringing the arms behind you, palms plant so the fingers are pointing toward your feet. Shoulder blades wrap around the spine, pressing the four corners of the palms into the earth to protect your wrists. So either way, our chins are going to be lifted and our gaze up toward the ceiling. I'm going to show you this one first. Inhale, pressing through the heels, lifting the hips up, reverse table. Or if you prefer one that is a little more work on working on strength, you can extend the legs and point the toes. Same thing, inhale, lifting the hips up. Reverse plank. Inhale, set it down. And then making your way to tabletop. So maybe you just cross the ankles and roll there. Otherwise, just getting there however works best for your body. And we'll start here from tabletop with the hands directly under the shoulders, fingers spread wide, pressing the four corners of the palms into the mat to protect your wrists. Once again, softening the tailbone down, rolling the shoulders back and down, knitting the ribs in, ears in line with the shoulders. Take a couple breaths and just notice how it feels to have those muscles working in the core to help align your spine. Next, inhale, feel free to start moving into a cat-cow movement. Inhale, lifting the heart forward, chin up. Exhale, arch the back like a cat, let your head hang. Inhale, back to cow. Exhale to cat. And just allowing your breath to guide and dictate your movement. Maybe as the head comes down, you add a little shake of the head, shaking it no and yes. And release back to center in your own time. Extending the right leg here, allowing the toes to tuck, pressing through the heel. Nice stretch in the back of the leg. Next, inhale, allow that foot to glide all the way to the right. I like to align my arch with my opposite knee, so the toes are pointing forward. You can stay here, or you can extend the left arm out to the side. And if you'd like to turn this into a balancing pose, just make sure to press the top of the left foot into the mat. And then inhale, lifting the right leg up. And let the right foot set down. Inhale, lift the left arm all the way up. Exhale, thread the needle, bringing the left shoulder to the mat. I'm going to rest my head on the mat and you won't see my face for a moment. But if you're seeing that your shoulder can't quite get to the mat because your body is feeling tight, you can always take a pillow or a blanket or something and just bring the ground up to you. So as much padding as height as you need to rest the shoulder. So one more time, inhale, arm up. Exhale, thread the needle. Inhale back to center, setting that left hand even with the right. Allowing the right toes to glide all the way behind you, tucking the toes on the earth. You take a little twist here, maybe look back at your foot. If you do tend to hyperextend your knee, I know I do, I keep a little micro bend in the knee just to protect that joint. Inhale, draw the right knee back to center. And we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So left leg extends, toes tuck, press through the heel. Stay there as long as you need. And at any time you can just inhale, glide that left foot to the left side, aligning the arch and the knee. So you might just stay here, or if you'd like to add the right arm, inhale, extending it out to the right side. If you do choose to make this into a balancing posture, just make sure to press the right foot into the mat, the top of the right foot, and then inhale, lift that left leg up. The foot is flexed. And set it back down. And then if you want to come into the gate pose, which is where we thread the needle, go ahead and lift the right arm all the way up. Exhale, thread the needle, bring the arm down. Shoulder and head rest either on the earth or on a prop, maybe a blanket or pillow. Inhale back to center, allowing the left toes now to glide all the way behind you to the right. Toes tuck on the earth so you can still get a little stretch in the back of the foot, the back of the toes. Maybe I said that wrong. The bottom of the foot, the back of the leg. You can gaze over the right arm if you'd like. Inhale the knee back to center. So we're gonna make sure we have a little bit of space here between the feet and hands. So instead of having the hands directly under the shoulders, maybe you just bring them a little further away. Still have just the four corners of the palms pressing into the earth. And we really want to focus on this space between the index finger and thumb, because as you press that down, it actually takes the pressure off the wrist. One of the most common issues in any posture where the hands are on the mat is pain in the wrists. So if you really just focus on that space, you're going to help your wrists a lot. So get those fingers spaced out, press that space into the mat between the index finger and thumb. Tucking the toes, inhale, lifting the knees up. Shifting your weight back toward your heels for downward facing. So believe it or not, we're still softening the tailbone down. We're still rolling the shoulders back and down. We're still knitting the ribs in and allowing the ears to be in line with the shoulders. Maybe you look back at your toes here. Maybe on your next inhale, you lift the heels nice and high. Exhale, set them down. Maybe one more time. The right leg can come up here. Bending the knee, and if it's available to you, stacking the right hip on top of the left. Maybe you look under the left arm at your heel. You might even take a little bit of a circular motion here with the knee. And reverse. Then bringing that knee or that hip back to center. Have the knee tight into the torso. Shift your weight forward like you're coming into plank and set the right foot down. Coming onto that left knee. So a couple of things here. One, you'll notice that my left knee is quite a bit behind my left hip. It's not directly under it. We're preparing to come into a low lunge, and so in a low lunge, we want to make sure the knee is behind the hip. Also in this posture, you may feel quite a bit, whoops, lost my sequence. You may feel quite a bit of pressure on the knees. So feel free to just take a towel or a blanket or something and put that under the knee. And then for the back foot, you can see if it feels better for you to have the top of the foot flat on the mat or the toes tucked. Could go either way. With the front leg, we want to have the right knee bent toward the pinky toe, just above the ankle. So careful not to let it go in front of the ankle. We're trying to protect the knee joint here. And as we open the knee toward the pinky toe ever so slightly, we're just engaging that outer thigh and glute. So once you feel those muscles engaging, you can begin to slowly come up. We also want our hips to be parallel to the top of the mat, so that the outer thigh and glute are engaged, and then the left leg, you're going to have the inner thigh engage, and that helps to draw that left hip forward. Still soften the tailbone down, roll the shoulders back and down, knit the ribs in, ears above the shoulders, and from here maybe lift the arms overhead. You might even let the palms touch, the fingers might interlace. Inhale, bring the left hand down under the left shoulder, right arm comes up. So go ahead and tuck your left toes if they're not already there. It's going to be a little bit, just help you in this next movement. So see if it works for your body tonight, just focusing on balance. So we are keeping all those muscle groups engaged we just talked about. And see if you can work a tick-tock with the arms. So the left arm is forward, the right arm is back. Inhale, the hands come down, lifting that left knee up. And we're going to come out of this the same way we went in. So we want to make sure that we're still softening the tailbone down, rolling the shoulders back and down, knitting the ribs in, so we can step that left foot back without swiping it across the mat. I think I said left, but I meant right. I apologize. So go ahead and lift the left leg up here. For the time being, try to focus on turning the toes to point toward the mat. So you might want to look back at them, feeling that inner thigh engage. And bending the knee, stacking the hips. Maybe you look back at the left leg, maybe you make some circles. And reverse. Coming back to center, hug the knee nice and tight into your torso, shifting forward, still knitting the ribs together so you can step that left foot down without the swipe on the mat. And then you can work on bringing that right knee down to the mat. So again, it's up to you if you prefer to have the toes tucked or not at this time. But when you're ready, engaging this outer thigh and glute, knee above the ankle, toward the pinky toe, coming up to your crescent or your low lunge. So you could also be doing cactus arms here. You could be doing prayer hands. Engage that inner right thigh to draw the right hip forward, just to allow the hips parallel to the top of the mat. Inhale, right hand comes down, left arm comes up, tucking the back toes if they're not already. And then inhale, tick-tock into your vertical twist. Inhale, hands come down to the mat. Lift that left knee up. Make sure you're knitting the ribs in so you can step the left foot back, walk it out. You can set your blanket to the side if you have one across your mat. And then just walk your feet toward your hands until you find yourself in a standing forward fold. So you just work your way there. If you need to have the knees bent, that works. Getting the four corners of the feet now rooted into the earth, maybe lifting the toes to feel them root down. And the hands can come to rest on the shins or behind the thighs, coming into your forward fold. So maybe with your inhale, look up halfway. You might bring the hands to the shins or the front of the thighs. And then exhale into your fold. Feel free to keep as much bend in the knee as you need. Low back issues are often tied to tight hamstrings, and sometimes that tightness goes all the way down the back of the legs. So just listen to your body, see what you're feeling. Inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Maybe you hang out here for a moment and just shake your head. No and yes. Nice deep bend in the knees. Inhale, slowly coming up to mountain pose. So feel free to just bring your hands to prayer at heart center, or maybe letting them come down by your sides, palms facing forward, or even opening the heart space a little bit more, turning the thumbs away from you, behind you. So we're doing that same alignment we keep talking about, key alignment in yoga, and really just for a healthy spine. So you can start by lifting your toes up off the mat. Feel the four corners of the feet root down, and then work on setting your big toe down first. That's going to cause a little bit of an inner thigh engagement. We want those muscles to be working. And then you can set your toes down. So keeping that inner thigh engagement. Soften the tailbone down. So I'll show you if I just stand the way my back wants me to. Because of years of bad posture, I get this arch in the back. So when I soften the tailbone down, I'm actually taking a lot of pressure out of here. Rolling the shoulders back and down, knitting the ribs in, ears in line with the shoulders. So find that positioning of the hands that you want, whether they're here or at prayer. Just hang out for a few breaths. Breathe deep. If it feels safe, close your eyes. I'm going to read our passage to you once again. Just take it in. Notice if there is anything new the Lord is speaking to you, even asking him, God, what do you want to speak to my heart tonight? Since you are all set apart by God, made holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with a holy way of life, compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Put up with one another. Forgive. Pardon any offenses against one another, as the Lord has pardoned you, because you should act in kind. But above all these, put on love. Love is the perfect tie to bind these together. Let your hearts fall under the rule of the Anointed's peace, the peace you were called to as one body. And be thankful. If love binds all these things together in perfect unity, there's a whole section in 1 Corinthians devoted to love, right? What are the attributes of love? Love is patient and kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. Love always hopes, always perseveres. I'm sure I'm leaving part of that out, but even just thinking about those attributes of love and how they tie into helping us put on these other characteristics that were mentioned: compassion and kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. So with your next inhale, you can reach your arms overhead. Exhale, sit back into chair. So for your chair pose, you might have your arms up. You might do prayer, but you do want your knees behind the toes for sure and above the ankles. So we're just sitting back to wherever our bodies allow. It's going to look a little bit different to everyone, but think about a chair sitting behind you. It's like you're going to sit back into that chair. So you wouldn't bend forward, you would lean back, trusting that chair to be there. Just make sure you're softening your tailbone still, rolling the shoulders back, knitting the ribs in, keeping that proper alignment in the shoulders. And then inhale, forward fold, hands to the mat. Maybe you deepen the bend in the knees just to bring the hands to the mat. Step back to downward facing. Shifting your weight forward into plank, the top of a push-up. Lowering the knees down and keeping the ribs knit together, keeping the elbows close to the torso as you slowly come down. Top of the toes flat. Inhale, look forward, lifting the chin. Still keeping the elbows drawn into the torso for cobra. So tuck the toes. Still thinking about that spinal alignment, especially knitting the ribs together because we want to lift through the mid-back. So inhale, lift up. Exhale, downward facing. Right leg comes up. If you're inhale, exhale, bend the knee, shift forward like you're coming to plank. Set that right foot down. So it's like we were preparing for our low lunge before, but this time instead, we're going to keep that left heel nice and high. And we're going to keep the knee off the earth. Of course, if at any time you feel like you would do better to bring the knee down, feel free to do so. This is your practice. So once again, thinking about that knee being bent on the right side toward the pinky toe and engaging the outer thigh and glute on the right leg. Inner thigh is working on the left leg. Inhale, slowly coming up for crescent pose. So we're bringing the ankle above the ball of the foot on that back foot. Next, inhale, pivot the left heel in, set it down so you can come to warrior two. Inhale, right forearm to right thigh. Left arm reaches overhead. So if you have shoulder issues, this might be kind of a challenging place to get your shoulder. So I like to bring the arm down in front of me and then swoop it overhead. Keeping both hands fully active here. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, left hand, left thigh, right hand flips, reaches up. Inhale, maybe you begin to extend that right leg and lean back a little further. Keeping the right leg straight, inhale to center. So if you do tend to hyperextend, you can always keep a micro bend in the knees if you need to. We're still softening the tailbone, still rolling the shoulders back, still knitting the ribs in through all of this movement. We're just going to glide forward at the waist, so only the upper body is moving here. We want to make sure that tailbone is still tucked, soften down, and then just begin to tick-tock the arms. So the right hand can rest on the thigh or the shin. We really want our hip to be open here. We want our ribs to be open. You can even bring the left hand in and just guide the right side of the ribs forward and then do that swooping motion once again. Inhale to center, pivot the right foot, so both feet are facing the same direction now. Star pose. If you'd like, you can take a little forward fold here. Maybe you bring a little micro bend into the knees. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. So the hands can rest on the shins or the thighs. Inhale, look up halfway. Exhale, fold. The hands can rest on the earth beneath you or a block if you have one. Maybe you just let the head hang here, shake no and yes. You might even want to walk the hands under the legs if that works for your body. So just take a couple deep breaths in your fold. Okay, and then we're going to ease back into crescent on the opposite side. So we're in our star pose when we inhale up. Pivot both feet to the left. And this time we want both feet to be pointed forward. So we're going to make sure that heel comes up on the back leg as we bend the left knee toward the pinky toe. Once again, it's just above the ankle. Outer thigh and glute engaged. Inner thigh on the right leg. The ankle is above the ball of the foot. Soften the tailbone down. Roll the shoulders back and down. Knit the ribs in. Ears in line with the shoulders, and you can do prayer hands or lift your arms overhead. Inhale, left arm forward, right arm back. That right heel pivots in and sets down on the mat for warrior two. So in Warrior Two, our hips are more toward the diagonal corner of your mat. They're not facing front. They're more just in between. They're not all the way to the side. They're not all the way to the front. Still have an inner thigh rotation on the back leg, outer thigh rotation on the front leg. And as you extend the left arm forward and the right arm back, if you do tend to have tight shoulders, you might actually want to see how it feels to turn the palms up. It just allows the shoulders to open up a little bit more. Next, inhale into side angle. Bring that left forearm to the left thigh. Right arm can swoop down in front of you and lift overhead. Inhale to center. Exhale, right hand, right thigh. Left arm reaches up. Inhale, extend the left leg, letting that left arm reach back a little further. Inhale, keep the legs straight, back to Warrior Two arms. And this is where you can keep a little bend in the knees if you need it. Gliding forward just at the waist, so it's just the upper half of the body. You're still softening the tailbone. Rolling the shoulders back, knitting the ribs in, right? And then tick-tock the arms. So that left hand rests anywhere but the knee. Getting a nice stretch here in that right side body, a little bit in the hip. Inhale back to center. Pivot the left foot inward, so you're back in star. And inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, wide-legged forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, all the way back up to star. Pivot the feet to the right. Bending the right knee so the hands can come down to the mat. Step the right foot back to meet the left. Walk it out. Downward facing. And maybe take a little rest here in child's pose. So tops of the feet rest as flat on the mat as your body allows. The big toes touch. And you can either spread the knees wide or have them close together, whatever feels good in your body, and begin to sit back toward the heels. So as you start to lower your head, notice how tight your hips are feeling. You may feel like you need some kind of elevation once again under the head. So we tend to, when our hips are tight, we start to lift the booty up off the heels. So try to keep it down low. And then just bring the ground up to meet you. So maybe you just fold a blanket or a towel, and then allow the top of the forehead to rest on that surface. So maybe you rest on your forearms, maybe your arms are stretched straight forward. Just hang out here for a few more deep breaths. Notice the spaces in the body that rest against the earth, against your props. Notice how this posture feels in your hips, in your heart space. So maybe you stay here a little bit longer, or if you'd like to participate in a little side stretch, if you're using a prop, just move it to the right side and begin to walk the hands toward the right. So we're going to root down through the left hip, so keep it nice and low, and then bring that blanket under the top of the forehead if you're using it. So as we do a side stretch, we still want to roll the shoulders back and down. Make sure they don't fall into the ear space. And maybe you'll even lay that right arm across your back. Inhale, coming to center, and if you're taking that side stretch, just switching sides, rooting down through the right hip. Now keep it nice and low. And then walking the hands to the left. Maybe you bring that left hand across the back. And then inhale back to center in your own time. Slowly coming up, making your way to seated. So we'll sit with the left leg extended, and the sole of the right foot can come to the inner left thigh. We're going to turn our heart to face over our left leg for a moment. Rooting down through this right hip. So once again, it's like someone is pressing this right knee down toward the mat. You can engage the outer thigh and glute to draw it down. And then with your next inhale, reaching the arms up. Make sure the foot is flexed on the left side. Toes are pointing toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, fold. Just allowing the hands to rest wherever is comfortable for you. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, folding a little deeper. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, coming up. This time, we're going to rest the left hand anywhere along that left leg that works for you. We're going to turn so our hips are evenly spaced between the legs. And then inhale, reach the right arm up. Exhale, begin to slowly fold over the side. So we're still rooting down through the right hip. Feel that outer thigh and glute working to open the right hip here. And if you need to, you can swoop the right arm forward and down and then reach overhead. Inhale up a bit. Exhale. Fold. One more time. Inhale to center, setting that right hand down just outside the right hip. The fingers are pointing away from you. Reaching the left arm overhead, we're going to lift up through this hip, pressing down through the left heel. So inhale, reaching the left arm overhead. Inhale back to seated, and let's do the same movements on the opposite side. So bending the left knee now, extending the right. Foot is flexed. So also paying special attention to the knees. If you do notice that your knees tend to hyperextend, you might even choose to put a blanket or pillow, even a soft pillow under the knee, just to keep it from that hyperextension. Still flexing the right foot. I'm actually going to adjust my positioning so my foot can still be on the mat. So we have the sole of that left foot pressing into the right thigh, and we're gonna turn our hips so that our heart can be facing just over that right leg. Rooting down through the left hip, so feel the outer thigh and glute working here. And then inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, begin to fold. I like to bring my hands down first, just so I don't try to reach too far. I'd rather my hands come a shorter distance so that I can inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And then it allows the hands, maybe they slip forward a little bit, but I want to avoid putting undue tension in the shoulders and the neck. So a couple more times with the breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Last time. Inhale back to center. This time we're turning the torso in between the hips here, evenly spaced, or the legs. You know what I mean, right? And then we're going to rest that right hand either on the thigh or the shin. Inhale, reaching the left arm up. Exhale, fold to the side. And this is another posture where you could actually reach the left hand in to the lower part of the rib cage and exhale, guide it forward. Let that space open up and you're rooting down through this left hip, so you should get a nice stretch in the side body here. And you can always do that swooping down and overhead for the shoulder space. Inhale up a bit. Exhale. Allow yourself to sink a little bit more. Inhale back to center. Start to make your way onto your back. So placing the feet in front of the hips and allowing the arms to come down by your sides, palms to the mat. Shoulder blades are going to wrap around the spine so that they rest a little flatter on the earth. This just allows the heart space to open. Making sure the inner thighs are engaged to draw the knees just energy-wise toward each other, so they don't have to touch. We still want them just above the ankles. Soften the tailbone down. Roll the shoulders back and down. Knit the ribs in. Keep the chin slightly lifted. Inhale, press through the heels. Lift the hips up for bridge pose. Taking a couple deep breaths. Exhale, allow the spine to roll nice and slow to the mat, drawing the knees in, hands on the shins. Maybe you rock side to side, massaging the low back. Allowing the soles of the feet to touch. The knees can open to butterflies. So same way we did in the beginning, the outer thighs and glutes are engaged to open the knees. You can have your hands anywhere along the shins or clasping around the toes, pressing the four corners of the feet into each other. The hands might come inside the arches of the feet, or maybe outside the thighs as you make your way to happy baby. So with happy baby, we want the heels pointing toward the ceiling. We want the knees spread just as wide as is comfortable for you. So if you're feeling pinching in your hip flexors, maybe draw them a little closer together. We want the tailbone and shoulders resting comfortably on the earth. So that's where you can really notice where your hand placement should be. If you come into the arches of the feet and the shoulders or the tailbone come up, then it's probably a better idea to try moving the hands just to protect your spine. Maybe you extend the legs here into a V, similarly just as wide as feels comfortable in your body. Any pinching or even pain in the low back, just narrow your V. Hands can rest inside the thighs. Maybe you rotate the ankles a few times. And reverse. And bending the knees, allow them to come back to the mat. Walk the feet to the outer edges. The arms can release out in a cross, palms to the earth. Knees falling gently toward the right as you gaze over your left arm. If you feel like you need more of a stretch, you can place your right ankle on your left thigh. Just an option, not a requirement. Inhale to center, exhale other way. Maybe you gaze over the right arm if that is available for you. And left ankle on the right thigh if you like. Inhale to center in your own time and start to make your way into your resting pose of choice. So maybe for you it just feels good to extend the legs to rest flat on the mat. You might even like a pillow or a blanket under the head. There's so many options to place the arms. You might like them resting hands on the belly or down by your sides, palms facing up. Or maybe even open in a cross or half moon around the head. Or you might bend your knees, feet in front of the hips, letting the knees touch and the feet walk away. Or even coming to child's pose or fetal pose or any other yoga posture that feels really lovely and relaxing in your body. So just finding that posture, finding any props that you need to make yourself a little more comfortable. And to help you settle in, just continue to focus on your yoga breath. A few more minutes here. So in this chosen resting posture, notice the spaces in the body that come in contact with the earth, with your props. Take a little mental inventory of those spaces. That nice long, slow exhale might have you feeling like you're sinking a little deeper into the earth, just noticing muscle tension melt away. Maybe you begin to close your eyes if you haven't already, just really melting into that mat, into that relaxation. as I read our passage one last time. Colossians 3:12 through 15 from the Voice translation. Since you are all set apart by God, made holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with a holy way of life, compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Put up with one another. Forgive. Pardon any offenses against one another as the Lord has pardoned you, because you should act in kind. But above all these, put on love. Love is the perfect tie to bind these together. Let your hearts fall under the rule of the Anointed's peace, the peace you were called to as one body, and be thankful. So 4 more times we'll move into our square prayer. And this, of course, is just an option, but if you'd like, you can follow along. So inhale, you are my defender. Hold, you are my provider. Exhale, I release any root of bitterness. Hold, and trust you for protection. Inhale, you are my defender. Hold, you are my provider. Exhale, I release any root of bitterness. Hold, and trust you for protection. Inhale, you are my defender. Hold, you are my provider. Exhale, I release any root of bitterness. Hold, and trust you for protection. Last time. Inhale, you are my defender. Hold, you are my provider. Exhale, I release any root of bitterness. Hold, and trust you for protection. So allow your breath to be as deep and long as feels good in this moment. Allowing yourself to just continue to relax as I pray over us. Lord, we are grateful to know that you are the same yesterday, today, and forever. That your word is living and active and relevant. The same yesterday, today, and forever. Lord, even in this strange season, it seems like your word is even more alive to your children. And we see your character more readily when we seek your face. So we pray in this season, whatever our weaknesses tend to be, God, whatever sin patterns we tend to fall into, God, that we would just remember to pray that simple prayer, Lord, show me you, then show me, then show me others. Lord, show me who you are in truth, that you are holy, that you are the lover of my soul, that you are the King of kings and Lord of lords, my protector, defender, provider of every need. may that inform how I see myself, knowing that you are just, that you are gracious, that you are merciful, and that you look on your children with delight. And may we extend that same love and grace and kindness to the world around us. Teach us to be patient as you are with us, to be compassionate as you are with us, to bear with one another, to forgive as you have forgiven us. It's in your holy name we pray. Amen. So feel free to rest as long as you like, of course. Thank you so much for joining me to practice and worship tonight. Have a blessed evening.